I am the perfect audience for Buster's big goal because not only am I a big Arthur fan and I love Buster, but I'm actually in the middle of planning a trip to Boston, Massachusetts, to the point where I have hotels booked. I'm currently looking at things to see and do. And when I got to this episode, which is the 40th episode of the first season of Postcards from Buster, the last one in the first season, I thought, okay, we might have saved the best one till last because I was actually watching this with the hope that it would give me some useful insights or things that I could maybe go and see, aspects that I wanted to experience for myself. And it actually did do that. So, Postcards from Buster, I can confirm, does its job, which we know, of course, there are plenty of other episodes where I feel like I could go to those places and see things, but this one actually was the perfect timing for me. Now, it is bittersweet because it is the last episode of the first season. I'm not entirely sure what the other few seasons are like, but from what I can tell, they are slightly different. I think they may be very similar in concept, but also different. I don't know if that makes sense. But the point is, I don't think they're just more trips to different states in America, but I'll find out when I watch them. This one is actually largely about soccer, which I will say I didn't care for that much. I'm not a fan of football. I literally couldn't care less. But because the boys Buster was with were really engaging and really entertaining, I was still able to watch it without feeling like I was too bored. A lot of it as well is done in places of Boston where we have really lovely backdrops. They play soccer in a park and we get to see some buildings in the background, some really lovely architecture. So even though I wasn't always interested in the soccer aspect, I did enjoy the scenery. And there are some touristy things. Buster rides in a duck boat, which I've seen before. You get them in London, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like I want to go on one of those, but the idea of driving into the water just is slightly terrifying. I don't think I'll go on one when I go in Boston, mostly because of time constraints. But there were some other historical facts given in this episode that I want to go and learn a bit more about before I go so I can identify certain buildings and certain important landmarks. So it's definitely done its job in that regard. We also learn a little bit about the Brazilian population there. And now I actually Googled it, and apparently only 5% of the Brazilian population in Massachusetts is in Boston. I'm not entirely sure which city in Massachusetts has the largest Brazilian population, but 95% of the Brazilian population in Massachusetts is not in Boston. So I'm not really sure what that means, but that's certainly something that if I go there and I see various shops or, it alludes to certain cultures, then I'm going to have at least some context for that and know a little bit about that. So it's definitely served me well. Yeah, the soccer aspect I didn't care for, but even when it was focusing on football, I didn't mind it too much. But the Boston aspect was great. And we did, I don't know if it's just by coincidence, but this is one of the episodes where I feel like we got to see most of the touristy aspects, which a lot of the episodes lack. Not all of them, some of them are also really good at it. But this one, especially, I felt like I could just deposit myself in Boston and have a deeper understanding of what to expect as a tourist. So, tremendous credit to it for doing that. Well, I won't say I'm even more looking forward to my trip now because I'm already ecstatic. But yeah, I'm going to be able to think back on this episode. I'll probably watch this episode again just before I go. But I really enjoyed it. It's been a beautiful journey, having watched, 20 hours of Postcards from Buster, maybe just shy of that. Looking forward to watching the other seasons. Not sure what to expect, especially with the way this one ended. I'll discuss now, I guess, with a spoiler warning, how it ended. But you can imagine how it ended. So, spoilers from now. At the end of the episode, Buster and Bo arrive back in Elwood City. The tour is over. It's done. It's finished. So, that's quite a journey, and Buster starts to show people what he's learned and all of these skills and experiences he's had. And it just must be such an amazing experience, especially as a child, to go to virtually, half of the states in America. I haven't kept a record of exactly how many states they went to. And then some places outside of the 50 states as well. So it's pretty spectacular. And it was kind of weird. The last kind of 2-3 minutes of this were just an episode of Arthur, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, Buster's Big Goal, the soccer aspect aside, is pretty fabulous. I am absolutely the target audience for this episode. And, well, if I was a sports fan, I would 100% be the target audience for this episode. I'm saying I'm 90% the target audience otherwise. But I really enjoyed it. Sad to be at the end of the first season, but looking forward to exploring the rest.